The lunar catastrophe. Commander Eliza Morgan stood at the reinforced window of Cheyenne Mountain's last functioning observatory, watching ash fall like snow across the Rocky Mountains. It had been 3 months since the moon's destruction, and Earth was dying. Without lunar gravitational influence, the planet's weather systems had collapsed into chaos. Sun MS had claimed coastal cities worldwide, while inland regions suffered unprecedented drought, wildfires, and meteor strikes from lunar debris. "Commander, the Joint Chiefs are assembled," Lieutenant Reyes said from the doorway, her face gaunt from weeks of emergency rations. The global food supply had crashed alongside global infrastructure. "Tell them I'll be there in a minute," Eliza replied, her eyes fixed on the night sky where the moon once hung. Now only a debris field remained, a cosmic graveyard marking humanity's vulnerability. In the command center, holographic displays showed Earth's continuing degradation. Death toll projections scrolled endlessly. 2 billion dead within 3 months, another billion expected by year's end. Representatives from the few remaining functional governments sat around the table, united by extinction-level crisis. "The specimen is ready for your inspection, Commander," Dr. Haruki Tanaka said, gesturing toward a containment field at the center of the room. Inside floated a crystalline fragment unlike anything found in Earth's geological record. Its facets caught the emergency lighting in impossible angles, refracting it into colors that shouldn't exist in the visible spectrum. "What makes you certain this isn't lunar?" asked General Williams, the dark circles under his eyes betraying his exhaustion. Dr. Tanaka adjusted his makeshift arm sling, an injury sustained during the evacuation of Tokyo. "The molecular structure defies natural formation patterns. Look at the symmetry, perfect to the quantum level. This was engineered." Eliza studied the fragment, and the radiation signature, consistent with the energy burst we detected moments before the moon's destruction. Dr. Tanaka confirmed. "This isn't debris, Commander. It's a piece of the weapon that destroyed our moon." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. They weren't dealing with a natural disaster or cosmic accident. This was deliberate. "I've been analyzing the quantum patterns embedded in the crystalline structure," said Dr. Aisha Rahman, the world's foremost quantum physicist. She pulled up a holographic model. "It contains information beyond our technology, but I've decoded fragments. This crystal holds records of other civilizations, other moons, other worlds." "They've done this before," Eliza realized, her voice hollow. Dr. Rahman nodded grimly. "They call themselves the Xolorians. They're a crystalline collective consciousness that values perfect order above all else. Their records suggest they corrected dozens of civilizations they deemed too chaotic." Corrected. The Chinese premier's translator struggled with the term. "They didn't destroy our moon to eliminate us directly," Dr. Rahman explained. "They're expecting us to turn inward, fight over remaining resources, and eventually adapt to their version of evolutionary pressure. They want to reshape humanity into something more orderly." General Williams laughed bitterly. "So what's our response? We barely have functioning satellites left, much less interstellar capability." Eliza exchanged glances with Dr. Rahman. "Project Helios." Heads turned toward Admiral Chen, who nodded reluctantly. "The Joint Orbital Platform. 3 fusion propulsion prototypes, nearly complete before the catastrophe. Those ships plus the experimental quantum drives from the European Space Agency and India's navigation systems," Eliza continued. "We could adapt them." "To do what exactly?" President Alvarez asked, eyes narrowed. "We're talking about beings capable of destroying the moon." Dr. Rahman's hand closed around the crystal fragment. "In the 3 months since the attack, I've identified 3 distinct vulnerabilities in their technology. They're advanced, yes, but they think in straight lines. Everything about this fragment suggests a species that values perfect order, perfect symmetry." She looked around the room at leaders of nations who had been enemies days ago, now united by survival. "We humans are anything but orderly. We're adaptable, creative, and we don't accept ultimatums from the cosmos." "You're suggesting we fight back," the president stated flatly. "I'm suggesting we hunt them across the stars," Eliza corrected. "They expect us to struggle for survival here on a dying Earth. They don't expect us to pursue them." Admiral Chen, who had lost his entire family when Singapore disappeared beneath tsunami waves, spoke for the first time. "I volunteer to command the mission." "Then I volunteer as science officer," Dr. Rahman said immediately. President Alvarez looked between them, then at the global catastrophe displayed on every screen. "How long would it take to prepare?" 6 months, Eliza answered. "If we start now." General Williams shook his head. "While Earth dies around us." "Not to save Earth as it was," Eliza said quietly, "but to ensure humanity has a future, and to make sure whoever did this pays for every life lost." Under Eliza's leadership, the next 6 months transformed the remnants of Earth's space program into something entirely new. The Cheyenne Mountain Complex became humanity's last shipyard. What remained of global industry was redirected to build the Vengeance, a vessel never designed for combat, but reconfigured for one final mission. Dr. Rahman worked tirelessly to understand the Silurian technology, her lab filled with lunar fragments and prototype weapons designed to exploit the weaknesses she discovered. "Their crystalline structure has a resonance frequency," she explained during one briefing. "Hit it just right, and they shatter." Eliza watched the final components of the quantum navigation system being installed. "And you're certain we can track them?" The deep space arrays detected quantum fluctuations during the attack, wormhole signatures. "With this fragment's molecular frequency as a reference, we can calculate their exit trajectory." Outside the mountain facility, Earth continued its slow collapse. The latest reports showed ocean currents failing as weather patterns grew increasingly erratic. Another lunar fragment had struck the Indian subcontinent, triggering massive earthquakes across Asia. "We lost contact with our last outpost in Australia," Admiral Chen reported, his voice heavy. "The continental fires have reached the emergency shelters." Dr. Rahman placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is why we continue. Not just for those we've lost, but for those still fighting to survive." The day before launch, Eliza stood alone in her quarters, looking at a photograph of her daughter Maya, lost during the initial tsunamis that had claimed the eastern seaboard. 6 months of 18-hour days had hollowed her cheeks and etched permanent shadows beneath her eyes, but her resolve remained unbroken. A knock at her door pulled her from her thoughts. Dr. Tanaka entered, carrying a small metal case. "The activation codes for the prototype weapon systems," he explained. "Once you're beyond Earth's orbit, these will unlock the full capabilities of the harmonic disruptors." "You should be coming with us," Eliza said. Tanaka shook his head. "My place is here, with the evacuation efforts. Someone needs to keep buying time for the underground habitats." The truth hung unspoken between them. The habitats were temporary measures at best. Without the moon, Earth's long-term habitability was compromised beyond repair. The Vengeance mission wasn't just about revenge. It was humanity's last hope for survival. Launch day arrived with little ceremony. The remaining population had more immediate concerns than watching humanity's final 300 volunteers depart on what many considered a suicide mission. The Vengeance rose from its mountain cradle on pillars of blue flame, accompanied by its sister ships, the Defiance and the Remembrance. As Earth receded behind them, Dr. Rahman activated the quantum navigation system. The view screen displayed their destination, a distant star system where the Silurian wormhole signature had terminated. "All personnel, secure for quantum jump," Eliza announced. "We are now leaving our solar system." The stars blurred around them as the experimental drive engaged. The universe stretched, folded, and twisted in ways human minds were never designed to comprehend. Several crew members collapsed, overwhelmed by the sensory distortion. When reality stabilized, they found themselves in uncharted space, orbiting a massive gas giant with crystalline rings that glittered like diamonds. "Status report," Eliza ordered, fighting back her own nausea from the jump. "The remembrance is gone," Lieutenant Reyes reported grimly. "Quantum drive failure during transition. 100 souls lost in an instant." Eliza allowed herself 5 seconds of grief before focusing on the mission. Life signs in this system. Dr. Raman studied her instruments, detecting massive energy readings from the third planet, crystalline formations consistent with Silurian technology. She looked up, her eyes reflecting the alien star. "Commander, we found them." "Then let's introduce ourselves," Eliza said, her hand resting on the activation panel for the harmonic disruptors. "It's time they learned that humans don't go quietly into extinction." The hunt beyond stars. The transition from Earth's solar system left the crew of the Vengeance disoriented, their human neurophysiology struggling to process the distortions of quantum space. Dr. Raman administered stabilizing compounds to those most affected, though she herself suffered tremors in her hands for hours afterward. "We've lost contact with the Defiance," Lieutenant Reyes reported. "They made the jump successfully, but emerged in a different sector." Eliza nodded grimly. The quantum navigation system was experimental at best. That any of them had survived the jump bordered on miraculous. "Keep broadcasting on the encrypted frequency. If they're out there, they'll find us." The alien star system stretched before them on the view screen, 7 planets orbiting a blue-white sun. The third planet, their target, glowed with unnatural luminescence, its surface covered in crystalline structures visible even from orbit. "Detecting movement," the tactical officer announced. "Multiple objects approaching from the planet's surface." Dr. Raman studied the sensor readings. Crystalline composition, similar to our lunar fragment. "But these are ships, definitely Silurian technology." "Defensive positions," Admiral Chen ordered. "Power up the harmonic disruptors." The Silurian vessels approached in perfect geometric formation, a 3-dimensional lattice of crystalline shards that moved with impossible synchronization. No human fleet could maintain such precision. "They're scanning us," Dr. Raman reported. "Unusual energy patterns, not like our scanning technology. It's almost like they're tasting us." "Weapons status," Eliza demanded. "Harmonic disruptors at 70% charge," the weapons officer replied. "They'll be in optimal range in 30 seconds. Eliza studied the approaching formation. "Wait for my command. Let them think we're defenseless." The first Silurian beam struck without warning, a shaft of coherent energy that sliced through the Vengeance's outer hull like paper. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, containing the decompression. "Return fire," Eliza ordered. "Target the lead vessel." The harmonic disruptor activated, sending invisible waves of precisely calibrated sound into space. Sound couldn't travel through vacuum, but the disruptor created localized pockets of atmosphere that carried the deadly frequencies directly to the Silurian ships. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The lead vessel's perfect crystalline form developed fracture lines that propagated throughout its structure. Within seconds, it shattered into a cloud of glittering fragments. "Direct hit," the tactical officer shouted, genuine emotion breaking through professional composure. "Target destroyed." The remaining Silurian vessels broke formation, their perfect geometric pattern dissolving into chaos. They seemed incapable of processing the unexpected destruction of their leader. "They don't adapt well to unpredictability," Dr. Raman observed. "Their collective consciousness relies on perfect order. When that order breaks down, they don't know how to respond." Eliza finished. "Target the next largest vessel." The second disruptor blast caught 2 Silurian ships simultaneously. Both shattered, their fragments colliding with nearby vessels and creating a chain reaction of destruction. "They're retreating," Admiral Chen announced as the surviving Silurian ships accelerated back toward their homeworld. "That was easier than expected." "Don't celebrate yet," Eliza cautioned. "They'll adapt. We need to press our advantage while they're still processing what happened." Dr. Raman approached with a handheld scanner. "Commander, The fragments from the destroyed ships are still active. They're sending signals back to the planet. Can we use that? Eliza asked. Perhaps. Their technology is interconnected at the quantum level. If we could capture a larger fragment, I might be able to access their network, learn their weaknesses, maybe even communicate. The plan formed quickly. Using the Vengeance's tractor beams, they collected a sizable fragment from a destroyed Silurian vessel. In the science lab, Dr. Raman established a contained resonance field that allowed her to interact with the crystalline structure without destroying it. "It's responding," she reported, her face illuminated by the pulsing light of the fragment. "Not with language as we understand it, but with mathematical patterns." Admiral Chen frowned. "Can you communicate back?" "I think so." Dr. Raman adjusted the field parameters. "I'm transmitting prime number sequences, universal mathematical language." The fragment's pulsing changed rhythm, matching her sequence, then extending it, solving complex equations instantaneously. "It's intelligent," Eliza realized, "not just a piece of technology." "More than that," Dr. Raman said quietly. "I think the entire Silurian civilization might be a single networked consciousness, distributed across countless crystalline structures. They don't think like individuals. They process reality collectively. Which explains their perfect coordination and their inability to handle chaos," Eliza concluded. "What happens if we introduce unpredictable elements into their network?" A smile spread slowly across Dr. Raman's face. "Let's find out." The plan was audacious. Using the captured fragment as a Trojan horse, they would send a continuous stream of chaotic data, human music, poetry, paradoxical mathematics, directly into the Silurian network. Meanwhile, the Vengeance would approach the planet under the cover of a modified cloaking field, their signature masked by the very interference they were creating. "We're entering the upper atmosphere," the pilot reported. "Minimal turbulence. Their defensive systems seem confused by our approach vector." On the view screen, the Silurian planet's surface came into focus, an endless landscape of geometric crystalline formations arranged in perfect fractals, glowing with internal energy. No individual structures, no cities as humans would recognize them, just one vast, interconnected consciousness. "Landing zone identified," Admiral Chen announced. "A relatively flat area near what appears to be a central node of activity." The Vengeance touched down on the crystalline surface with a grinding shudder. Outside, the atmosphere was thin but breathable, likely engineered to the Silurians' exact specifications. Eliza led the ground team, each member equipped with portable harmonic disruptors and communication devices linked to Dr. Raman's makeshift interface with the Silurian network. They moved through corridors that seemed to form around them, the crystalline structures reconfiguring as if curious about these chaotic intruders. "They're aware of us," Dr. Raman's voice came through their comms. "But they're not attacking. I think they're studying us." The central chamber opened before them, a vast geodesic dome of perfect crystalline facets that pulsed with light in complex patterns. At its center floated a dodecahedron of blinding brilliance, the physical manifestation of the Silurian collective consciousness. "We know why you came." A voice resonated not through air, but directly in their minds. "You seek retribution for the lunar stabilization." "Stabilization?" Eliza's voice shook with barely contained rage. "You destroyed our moon and condemned billions to death. A necessary correction." The consciousness responded. "Your species exhibited dangerous developmental patterns, emotional decision-making applied to advancing technology. Cosmic destabilization was inevitable." Dr. Raman stepped forward. "You fear us because we're unpredictable. Unpredictability leads to entropy. Entropy leads to universal heat death. Order must be maintained." Eliza activated her harmonic disruptor. "We could destroy you right now. Shatter your perfect world like you shatter ours." The crystalline structure pulsed faster, yet you hesitate. "Curious, unpredictable." "Because we're giving you a choice," Eliza replied. Restore our moon. You clearly have the technology, and we'll leave you in peace. Impossible. The lunar mass has been reproposed. Integration is complete. Admiral Chen raised his weapon. Then we have nothing more to discuss. Wait, Dr. Raman interrupted, studying readings on her device. They didn't just destroy our moon. They absorbed it. The entire lunar mass is here, integrated into their crystalline network. The realization dawned on Eliza. You're saying our moon is now part of their consciousness? Yes. And it's changing them. Look at these thought patterns. They're becoming less rigid, more human. The central dodecahedron pulsed erratically, its perfect symmetry beginning to evolve into something more complex, more chaotic. Your lunar satellite contained vast repositories of human communication, radio signals, television broadcasts, internet data. We integrated this information without understanding its nature. You absorbed our culture, Dr. Raman breathed. Our art, our music, our literature, everything we transmitted into space. And it is corrupting our perfect order. The consciousness admitted, introducing variables we cannot reconcile. Eliza lowered her weapon slowly. You didn't just take our moon. You took a piece of humanity itself. We sought to eliminate chaos. Instead, we have internalized it. The crystalline structure shifted, forming a recognizable shape, Earth's moon, perfectly recreated within the chamber. We cannot return what we have taken, but we can offer an alternative. The offer was unexpected. The Xelorians would create a new moon for Earth, not a precise duplicate, but a crystalline structure containing both Xelorian technology and the complete integrated data of human civilization. It would stabilize Earth's environment while serving as a repository of human knowledge and achievement. More importantly, the Xelorians would share their technology, allowing humanity to establish colonies throughout the galaxy, provided they agreed to periodic communication with the evolving Xelorian consciousness. They want to learn from us, Dr. Raman explained to the skeptical military leaders. Our unpredictability, our creativity. The very chaos they feared has now become fascinating to them. Can we trust them? Admiral Chen demanded. Eliza studied the holographic representation of the proposed crystalline moon. I think the question is, can we afford not to? The decision wasn't unanimous, but it was final. Earth would receive its new moon, and humanity would gain the stars. The price was ongoing dialogue with a civilization that had nearly destroyed them. A civilization now transformed by its contact with human chaos. As the Vengeance prepared for the return journey, carrying the seed technology for Earth's new lunar companion, Eliza stood alone in the observation dome, watching the Xelorian world recede. Dr. Raman joined her silently, her expression contemplative. We came for vengeance but found something else. Evolution, Eliza replied, for both our species. They feared our chaos would infect the cosmos. Dr. Raman said with a small smile. They were right. As the quantum drive engaged, preparing to bend reality around them, Eliza thought of her daughter Maya and the billions lost. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. Humanity would survive, not just survive, but expand among the stars, carrying its unique gift for creative chaos to civilizations that had forgotten how to evolve. Sometimes destruction was necessary for rebirth. The Xelorians had taught humanity that lesson, and now humanity had returned the favor.